Welcome, bienvenidos. This is Roxana for Metamorphosis Rocks, and as you know, I'm in the middle of moving. You can see the boxes in the back and this empty and the packing tape and all that other stuff. I was not going to do a video today, but there's a situation with Capital One and I want to talk about it. Not because I'm not gonna diss Capital One. That's not what this video is about. I need you to look at it from the perspective of millions of Americans, because it has spread from Capital One to many other banks. Now, I am pretty sure this is going to be a little lopsided because I'm filming from the phone and I have it on the stand it's a long story. Bottom line is it's not the perfect situation. But I needed this to go out today because as soon as I finish doing this video, I am not going to be recording any other videos until after we move, which would be after the 31st of January. We start moving on Wednesday, and I need you to keep that in mind because that is going to come into play into this whole equation. I'm going to use our income as a basis for this whole story so that you see how it impacts it. One thing impacts the other. And I want to make this clear for the haters. I am not asking for money. I'm not going to be mad if you tip me. But that's not what this video is about. I'm tired of people especially from other countries, making observations without knowing all the facts, even though we have explained them to them millions of times. So I'm hoping that this video clarifies everything for everybody that's not from the United States in a way that you can go, oh, that makes sense, hopefully. So for the purposes of this conversation, I was inspired to make this video by somebody because I was on Twitter, and yes, I'm going to call it Twitter until I die. This person, I was talking to this other person about the situation with Capital One, which I will get to in a second. Don't worry. I'm going to tell you what's going on. And they were telling me that they hadn't had their paycheck. They have been waiting for their paycheck for 2 days and whatnot. We have been waiting for one of the paychecks in the house for 2 days now, and it's rough. It's very rough for people who live paycheck to paycheck, which is most of Americans. But the thing about it was that this person, this random, goes, well, you need to up your money instead of living paycheck to paycheck. For those of you who have never been here before, hi, I'm Roxana. And just so you understand the situation, I am partially disabled. I am not disabled enough to qualify for disability payments from the government, which is a good thing, and I'll get to that later. But I am disabled enough that when you go and apply for a job, I have to take disabled because there are special requirements when you're working for a company, if the company is a decent company. And the reason why I mention that is because, oh, we're going to get rid of DEI hires and we're going to get rid of this and we're going to get rid of that. If you're a decent human being running a decent company, you're not going to get rid of anything that will impact your employees. I'm just saying. But that's another topic for another day. Anyway, bottom line is that last year I started working outside the home because the income that I was making from home was decent, but it was unstable. I would work for 3 weeks, make almost $2,000, and then I wouldn't work for 5 months. I cannot live like that. I need something coming in, even if it's small, something coming in every month. And so we ended up buying a new car because my car died. We only have one car, just so we're clear. But we have to pay almost $300 a month on that car. And between the car, the insurance, and the warranty is almost $600 a month. That's a payment that was not here before because the 2 cars that I used to own were both paid for. So the only thing I had to pay was the insurance. And it wasn't $100 and something. It was less than $100 a month. Now we have 165, or is it 205? It's 200. It's 200 because it was 262. So it went up $100. Long story. Anyway, bottom line is that between the 200, the 175, and 280, it's almost $600. I don't do math. You all do the math for me. It's 300. It's almost, I'm ashamed to say, I think it's almost 700. But anyway, the bottom line is that 100 of that I already paid when I was paying insurance before. The rest, the other $600 is the new stuff. All right. So going back to the situation with Capital One. For those of you who don't know, Capital One had a situation that happened this week where incoming, meaning paychecks and stuff like that, payments, bills that you're paying, and small businesses are not getting their money. None of it. It started out supposedly as the South, but there's people all the way up in New Jersey saying that they haven't gotten paid. I'm seeing more and more people complaining about this. I hope that was my ice maker, but my ice maker is broken, so I don't know why it would make a sound. Anyway, going back to the story. They did not have this happening. And so my daughter, okay, just so you understand the logistics of economics on the house. My husband gets paid weekly. My daughter and I get paid every 2 weeks. All three of us live in this apartment. When my daughter and I have scheduled for the same week. So we all get paid. We all are supposed to get paid today. But my daughter and my husband had the advantage of, because of the setup of their paychecks, they get paid the day before. So it would be on a Thursday instead of a Friday. I'm the only one who gets paid on Friday. Well, sure enough, my husband got paid. She didn't. Normally, on the mid-month paycheck, when we all get paid, it could be anywhere from $2,000 to $2,200, $2,300. And I'm saying that because it depends on how many hours I'm able to work. Just so you understand the circumstances, I get sick to my stomach. The easiest way to explain to people is like if I had a permanent flu. And it just goes nuts every once in a while. And what happens is I will get to work because I'm one of those people that has to get to work. And somewhere along the line, I will feel sick and I will tell my boss and he'll let me go home. I have a very understanding boss in that respect. And it's not just with me, it's with everybody that works for the company. So we don't have a problem in that respect. But because I don't work full time and I don't have like a full-time job, I don't get paid if I'm not working. So that means that I might make $2,000. I'm sorry. I might make $600, $500. Sometimes I make $800. It depends on how many hours I actually work in a week. And it also depends on the availability and the needs of the store. So that's why you see that I'm saying anywhere from $2,000 to $2,400 in this paycheck. Is it 20? It's not 24. It's $2,200. I'm sorry. So what ends up happening is, normally, that means that this is the paycheck where we can have incidents like this because the money is not as important as. But remember I told you I'm moving on Tuesday. And that meant that yesterday I had to pay the rent for the other place for the last 9 days of the month. So I had a $600 expense that wasn't on the usual budget. And that's where my daughter's paycheck comes in. Not all of it, obviously. So I had to pay partial of this one and partial of that one. So that's $1,200. And the mid-month is when we pay the car. So that's $280. That's not counting all the bills that we normally pay. So if we're missing a paycheck out of the 3 paychecks, let's say it's $700, $700, and $700. If I'm missing a paycheck out of the 3, that means that the money that we will use for gas and food is gone. But because this month we were paying the extra money for the rent for the other place, and on Wednesday I'm supposed to rent a truck, and my husband doesn't get paid until Thursday. Yeah, we're stuck. We're pretty stuck. We're pretty banged up right now. Now, I find it funny that somebody says to me, you have to up your economy. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working, for one thing. And for those of you who don't know, I come home and you can tell I'm disabled when I come home. When I leave, I look like a normal human being. When I come home, I can barely walk from the car door to my front door. I'm about to move to a second story, which means not only do I have to walk from the door to the door, I have to walk up the stairs to get to my door. But I'm willing to sacrifice because I am very clear that finances require it. Also, we're dropping the rent. We're dropping other fees that are associated with where we're living right now. So we're saving about $300 a month. But I haven't moved yet, and I have to move. And so when a bank does something like this, and let me be very clear, in Capital One's defense, they already said that they would replace all the fees associated, like if something bounced or a payment came in and you didn't have the funds to pay it. But that's my daughter's account. All the bills in this house come out of my account, except for two, which she can deal with those two because they're going to go to her account and she has the out. But I don't have that out. And by the way, normally, no bank gives you the late fees when something like that happens because you're supposed to have the money in the bank. But of course, corporate America being the way it is, most of us live paycheck to paycheck. And that's not counting if any of us has to end up in a hospital or with medical bills, because then the situation complicates itself. And so when I saw the whole story about Bank of America, there's several things going on at the same time. And I'm going to tell you all the things that are going on at the same time, so you understand why this whole thing is so weird. First of all, oh yeah, I forgot one important detail. When I woke up this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, I had not gotten paid either. For the last 2 months, I've been watching my bank give me my money later and later during the day. I ended up getting paid almost at 9 o'clock this morning. Normally, I get paid when it hits midnight in California. For some reason, that has changed quite a bit. Now I know why. Incident number one. Apparently, in November, there was some sort of hacking or something. Look, I call them all hacking. Of Bank of America and Chase. I bank with Chase. And then I started doing numbers, and that's exactly when the problem started, because I started seeing my check go from 3 o'clock in the morning, our time, to 5 o'clock in the morning, to 7 o'clock in the morning, and today was almost 9. So clearly they haven't fixed whatever the bug that came in messed up, okay? That's one. Number two, there is a lawsuit for an app called Zelle. If you don't know what Zelle is, if you have or know Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo, 7 banks got together along with a company, a third-party company, and they own this invention by this third-party company, which was created to compete with Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. The convenience for somebody like me that banks with Chase of having Zelle is that I don't have to pay for immediate money to come into my account or to send money to anybody. And if you're wondering what I'm trying to say, is PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App, if you want the money immediately, you have to pay a fee. If you send me $100 on Cash App, I don't want to, I mean, I'm using random numbers because I don't remember the specific numbers. But for example, if you send me money in Cash App and I want to write $100 and I want it right back, I have to pay $8 for it. So you're not really sending me, you're sending me $100, but I'm only getting like 92. See where I'm going with this? So every single one of them has a fee. Zelle doesn't have a fee so long as you're in one of the banks. Well, they're all getting sued, and the lawsuit started about a month ago because there's a disclaimer that now appears that you have to make sure that you have the correct information for the person, because if you don't, once they send the money, they won't get it back for you, which I think is baloney, because if a company pays me and they're not supposed to pay me, they're supposed to pay you, they can call the bank and the bank will move the money. So I don't see why they can't do the same for this, but that's another story for another day. Bottom line is, they will not do anything about that. And there used to be no disclaimer, but now there is. So for that reason, they're getting sued, okay? That's lawsuit number one. Now, in the case of Capital One, apparently this week it was announced that they're getting sued for something. All I remember hearing is $2 billion. So for them to have this major failure the same week that it's announced that they're getting sued for $2 billion doesn't look good for them. And I see a lot of people online saying, well, we need to get paid and take all our money out of Capital One. And my answer to that was, yeah, but where are you going to put it? Because as of right now, there is a list of 9 or 10 banks that are in the same boat as Capital One. And that includes Citibank, it includes Bank of America, it includes Chase. There's a bunch of banks that are having issues with their payments. Sorry, I keep looking at that because I keep thinking that that's where the lens is. So that's the second issue. There's a third issue that people are now talking about. They're not relating it to this, but you'll see where I'm going with this in a minute. So what ends up happening is that sometime this week, and I found out on Wednesday, Amazon got hacked. Interestingly enough, I have not seen any official announcement from Amazon about the hack. I found a story online, but I haven't seen any official. And the reason why I tell you that is because I'm a Prime member. And I have yet to see an email telling me you need to change your password because you've been hacked. I already changed my password. But I want you to see where I'm going with this. Am I being conspiracy theorist a little bit? Yeah, maybe. Whatever. Here's the thing that I find very interesting. Whenever I see a major kerfuffle of companies that get hacked at the same time or have issues at the same time, there's two major events going on that are always around it. Number one is inauguration. 2016, 2020, and now 2024, 25. Every single time there's been an inauguration, I've seen this happen. The last 3 or 4 inaugurations, which I think is very interesting. But there's another event, and that is Christmas. When it's a good Christmas year, meaning there's a lot of sales, there's a lot of, you see a lot of TV reports of all the people waiting and whatnot. This year was not one of them. You see a major hacking of accounts. In fact, I remember one year I was still working for the bank and we had a major story about a hack and we started seeing it on our end. I'm just customer service, but I started seeing it. And it was because one store got hacked, and obviously when a store gets hacked, they have all these account numbers that are from all these other banks, and then through that they keep going and going. I don't know how the Russians do it, because in that particular case it was the Russians. I don't know how they do it, but the bottom line is that they hacked into all these other systems and they ended up stealing money from all these accounts. Well, clearly every bank that has an account that some customer used in the store ended up getting hacked. It is what it is. But do I find it amusing that it's either Christmas or an inauguration? No, because people, every time there's an inauguration, a segment of the population is more positive about the future, optimistic. So they're not as vigilant as they should be with their stuff. So I'm not surprised that that happens during around the time of inaugurations. Number two, I am not surprised it happens at Christmas time because a lot of people are shopping for Christmas presents. So it's a big boon for them to get all those accounts. But the bottom line is this. I don't know if all three of these things are related. I don't know if they're not. Bottom line is that pretty much, and if I have a chance, I don't edit these videos, but if I have a chance, I'll probably post the actual screenshots that I caught on my community page so you can see them. There's a lot going on. And the bottom line is this. And I said I was going to get into the whole thing about why I don't qualify for disability. That's really short, and I'm going to say it right now. Thanks to our government, the way our government works, you have to make less than living wage, basically, for you to qualify for disability. And my husband and I make too much money. It is what it is. I would have to be completely unemployed, and he would have to be underemployed. Now, if we did that, we wouldn't be able to pay the rent, even with the disability. So I might as well go to work and kill myself. And I realize that's what I'm doing. And I'm very much aware that that's what I'm doing. But we need to pay the bills. Because I want to be able to move to my forever home within a year year and a half. And in order for me to do that, I need to pay off all the other bills. And I want to pay off the car. And in order to do all that, I have to work. And thank God I have the possibility of working as many hours as possible now when I move, because I'm closer to my job, so I don't even have to take the bus. I can just walk to work. It's a mile and a half, but it's a lot less than 7 miles, which is what it is now. So why am I telling you guys all this? Well, here are the issues that I want you to understand. Whenever you see a post on social media, a lot of people will do this. And look, I've done it. We automatically assume X, Y, or Z is happening. And we don't look at the full picture, because it's very easy to blame the people that are struggling instead of blaming the companies that are bleeding us dry. There is no reason why. If you're not going to pay for my medical expenses, you're charging me $100, $200, $300, $400, $500 a month just to have insurance. It isn't. That's why when Luigi Mangione decided to off that the CEO of that company, of United, most people didn't care. Why? Because insurance companies are bleeding us dry. There is no reason why the rents in the United States of America are so high. We have states like Florida that have let landlords charge whatever they want. And what happens is we're getting, for the 2-bedroom apartment I'm living in now, I'm paying $167 more than what I'm going to pay for a 3-bedroom somewhere else. That makes no sense. And this place is like 952 square feet. The other one is like 1,300 square feet. That makes no sense. But right now we're living in an economy where people can charge whatever they want. The reason why we got lucky is because the place where we're going to move to has an apartment complex next to it that is brand new. And I guess they wanted to be able to compete, so they went ahead and lowered the rates. The apartment complex that I'm moving to is gorgeous, so I don't mind. And I'm very happy that I can get an apartment there because I actually like the place. But the bottom line is this. Banks are charging us, it is really funny to me that we have been accustomed to pay fees for everything that we don't actually think about what we're doing. We pay to have our money in a bank. If you take money out with your ATM card, you get charged a fee. If you pay with your ATM card, there's a fee attached to your payment. Whether the companies that charge you are smart and they just include it in your total, or whether you see it on your actual bill, for using your own money, you're charged. And then for paying for services that you use, you're charged. Why? That used to make sense when banks did everything by hand, but everything is in computer now. And yes, I remember when everything was done by hand. We don't need any of those charges, but they keep charging us because people got used to it. So why not keep doing it? You want to know why people in the United States live paycheck to paycheck? Because it really doesn't matter if you make $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year. If you have to pay $4,000 or $5,000 a month for a decent house in a decent neighborhood with good schools, you're going to do that if you have children, because you want to make sure that your children go to the best school possible. It's not the parents' fault. I remember one time I saw this nurse was she a nurse? This lady actually said how much money she was making, and people were making fun of her because why are you crying? Because we have become so desensitized. Rich, bad, poor, good. No, we're all getting screwed. We just don't see it. It's a big difference to have a multimillionaire whining about something versus having somebody that's making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year. But we don't see it because we see the $300,000. We don't see the struggle. We don't see the fact that these people have certain expenses that are expected of them. Some of them don't live in the best neighborhood, but have to send their kids to a good school because they're hoping that their kids get a good education, or their kids are in college. And the days when you could pay $100 a credit and get pretty much everything under $1,500 a semester or a year sometimes, those days are gone. The average college costs what, 10, 20, $30,000 a semester? That's crazy to me. But people want to give the best thing possible to their children, so they'll do it. So I cannot get mad at rich people, or so-called rich people, because they want to give their kids the best. I wish I could do that. And that's the part that we're not seeing. We're all getting screwed, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of what you believe in. We're all getting screwed by all these expenses, and that's why we're the 98%. And instead of blaming me or my daughter or my husband because we're living paycheck to paycheck, maybe you should actually sit down and analyze, why is the system rigged the way it is? We're not getting the best food choices possible, and now we're going to lose the people who actually go to the fields to pick up the fruits and the vegetables that we put on our table. So God only knows how much more expensive groceries are going to be. We have so many things that could be better. And instead of concentrating on those, we're concentrating on banning TikTok, imposing tariffs on other countries, and sending people to the moon to explore space. Fix the problems here first, and then go and fix everything else. But the next time you see somebody talking about the Capital One situation, or if they have another bank, their bank situation, think about this. The average American is living paycheck to paycheck, no matter how much money they make a year. Most of us don't have the kinds of millions of dollars, or are not valuated in the millions of dollars, for us to not be able to lose a paycheck. I might be able to do that 6 months from now, but right now, I need all the paychecks here on time. Right now, as it stands, I forgot to tell you, we paid the 2 rents, we paid the car, we paid some of the bills. So I paid around $1,800 in bills already, but I'm missing like that chunk of $400, $500. And they're all going to come in because they are preset things. And I tried to stop them. Unfortunately, I was too late. The bottom line is that, yeah, I can call and talk to them later, but then I'm going to have to prove that the money comes from my daughter. And that's very easy because you can see the transfers every 2 paychecks. You can see the transfers from her account to my account. That's not a big issue. But it's an imposition that you have to kind of open yourself up, because you would have to show them your bank statements and all that other stuff. So that's kind of a pain. But, and that doesn't bother me as much as it should, because at the end of the day, you're giving them private information. But the reality is that we live paycheck to paycheck. It's a reality. And it doesn't really matter that we're making the money that we're making or that we're not making. The money is already figured out for certain bills. We just had one. And let me give you another example. Another person that I know, they get paid through Capital One, and their car just broke down. So now they don't have the money. They were going to take the car fixed this weekend. They cannot do that because they don't have the money in their bank account yet. It's one of those things. Stop judging people. And let me say something else. Yeah, I understand that some people are careless with their money, but the average American is not careless with their money. They don't go on fancy trips or spend on lavish things. I haven't bought a piece of furniture here in years, and we need some furniture pieces, but I'm not. I haven't bought a new, like from the store, piece of clothing in months, because I buy everything from thrift stores. I can tell you that we got rid of the cars that we had here so that we only have one car, because I wanted to make sure that we had, and it's an imposition. My poor daughter has to take a bus and then a train to get to work, and it's not even 15 miles away from here. But that's what she has to do to be able to make it to work, because we only have one car. And we're doing everything possible to save as much money as possible. But the reality is that most of us live paycheck to paycheck. So before you judge somebody for saying, oh, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, or I started a YouTube channel to make a little extra money so I can pay some of the bills off, or I want to do this so I'm selling my drawings on the internet. Before you start judging people, think about how so many people, especially here in the United States, are just living paycheck to paycheck. Thank you so much for watching my little rant, and you have a wonderful day.